It's very, very rare in any yeshiva, in any city, to be able to have really the zechus to welcome and hear words of Torah from an individual who literally over the last half century has built up a tremendous yeshiva and really been the pillar of Yeshiva University in New York. Yesterday, Rav Schachter was at Yeshiva University at YU, and they had a Siyum Hashas in honor of the upcoming Chag HaSmicha, which is going to take place this coming Sunday at YU. And if you look at the number of musmachim, the number of people who graduated the Chag HaSmicha and became Rabbanim from when Rav Schachter started as Rosh Yeshiva at YU until today, the number has grown and grown and grown. And literally when you look at communities throughout all of North America, including Eretz Yisrael, and really in many places throughout the world, there are musmachim, there are rabbanim, who are all considered talmidim of Rav Schachter. When I came to YU, after having spent a few years learning in Israel, I had the zechus to learn in Rav Schachter's shiur for about 3 years. It was a tremendous, tremendous zechus, something that I'll never forget for my entire life. And the amount that I learned on a personal level from Rav Schachter really was unbelievable. And I represent just one out of literally thousands of talmidim that Rav Schachter's had for many, 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 many decades. And Mirza Hashem, we wish Rav Schachter much hatzlacha. Rabbi should have a richos yomim v'shanim and be able to continue to teach, continue to learn, continue to lead our entire community, both in Yeshiva University and really throughout the world. And it really is a tremendous, tremendous kavod, a tremendous honor for us to host Rav Schachter here today. So please rise, Rabbi.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Oh, thank you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shekol nihiyeh bidvaro. In the Chumash, we read that on the occasion of Maimer HaSinai, all the Bnei Yisrael said Nasa v'nishma. And then the Gemara has a strange comment. It says, "Vayisatzu b'tachti sahar," and the simple pshat in the pasuk is that all of the nation was standing at the foot of the mountain, at the edge of the mountain. So the Gemara says, "B'tachta sahar," under HaKadosh Baruch Hu picked up Har Sinai, and he pressured Bnei Yisrael, we have to accept the Torah, and if we don't accept the Torah, he's going to drop the mountain on us. Shom take for aschem, he's going to kill us. So we were forced into accepting the Torah. So Taurus is bothered with a kasha. Why did Rebbeinu Shalom have to do kaf aleim har kigigas if they all said nasa v'nishma? So there are a lot of very good answers. And one of the wonderful answers appears in the Medrash Tanchum. Medrash Tanchum asked this question on Parshas Noach, a long paragraph in Medrash Tanchum. So the Medrash says when HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu he wants to give a Torah to Bnei Yisrael, he told him he's going to give a Torah shebechsav and a Torah shebal peh. So Moshe Rabbeinu starts to tell Bnei Yisrael what the deal is all about. So he says, well, there's a Torah shebechsav, that's about Shabbos and Kashrus and Taurus HaMishpacha. You read the Chumash, not so complicated. So he said, Nasa v'nishma. Why not? Doesn't seem so difficult. Tzitzis and tefillin. We're observing the mitzvah. Then Moshe Rabbeinu tells Bnei Yisrael, but there's a Torah Shabbat Peh. What's in the Torah Shabbat Peh? So he said, there's a Mishnah Berurah with all these footnotes on the bottom of the page. And the Bir Halakha and the Sharat Zion. Then there's a Yeredeya with a Pischei Tshuva and a Darkei Tshuva and all Igras Moshe and all the Tshuvas and everything. So they said, that's too difficult. We don't want to accept the Torah Shabbat Peh. That's too complicated. And the Medrash Tanchum quotes the psukim from Shir Hashem, Koshe Kishal Kino, Rishafer Rish Ve'esh, Al Heves Yor, the difficulty in learning, the great difficulty in learning and the great difficulty in observing much of Torah really applies to the Torah Shabbat Peh. Torah Shebechsav doesn't seem so difficult to learn, doesn't seem so difficult to observe, but the Torah Shabbat Peh, that's what the great difficulty is. So the Kaf Aleim Har Kigigus was really on the Torah Shabbat Peh. And then the Gemara says, Hodikiblu b'me'ach hashverish. The pasuk says in the Megillah, "Ekima v'kiblu aleim haYehudim al zaram," and the Gemara has the understanding that the verb kiblu has the connotation of Kabbalah Satorah. There was a second Kabbalah Satorah, just like at Har Sinai there was the first Kabbalah Satorah, national Kabbalah Satorah. There was a second national Kabbalah Satorah on the occasion of Nes Purim. The first Kabbalah Satorah we accepted b'ratzon the Torah shebechsav, and the Torah Shabbat Peh was forced upon us. And then the second Kabbalah Satorah was on the Torah Shebal Peh. So it's interesting, when did the story of Purim occur? So according to the Gemara's tradition, the historians keep on changing their minds every 50 years. But in the Gemara it says consistently, the story of Purim occurred at the end of the 70 years of Golos Bavel, right before, a year or two before the completion of Binyan Bayis Sheni. So the Gemara says at that time, there was a body that consisted of 120 Chachamim that was called the Anshe Knesset Hagdolah. The Anshe Knesset Ubehem Kama Nevim, and amongst them were several Nevim. And they were mispalot to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he should be mevatel liyetzer hara v'avodah zarah. We learn in Tanakh, we read about all of these people in Sefer Malachim. Everybody was worshipping avodah zarah all the time. The whole thing doesn't make any sense. You take a piece of wood and you shape out an idol and you bow down to the idol. You believe that the idol is a deity that has powers of Elokus. The whole thing doesn't make any sense. So the Gemara tells a story that one of the Amoraim was giving a shir on Tanakh. And he was condemning the people who were worshipping avodah zarah. So that night he had a dream. And one of the Malchi Yisrael came to him in a dream and he said, what are you condemning us? You know, if you would have lived in that generation, you would have picked up your jacket, your kapot, and you would have run to worship avodah zarah. The Yetzer Hara for avodah zarah was so powerful, they couldn't control themselves. So this tremendous Yetzer Hara for avodah zarah no longer exists today. There's still people worshipping avodah zarah. There's still Jews worshipping avodah zarah, unfortunately. But it's not the same way as it used to be. It used to be a tremendous, powerful Yetzer Hara. The Anshe Knesset Hagdolah were mispalot to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he should be mevatel that Yetzer Hara. Rashi writes in his commentary on Trei Yosar, at the beginning of Sefer, it's not a Sefer, at the beginning of Trei Yosar, there are 12 different Nevim. So the beginning of the Nevuah of Zechariah. Zechariah is the most obscure Novi, the most difficult to figure out what in the world is he referring to. If you don't have a tradition from the Torah Sheba'al Peh, you don't understand one word what's happening in Zechariah. So in the beginning of Zechariah, it says something about the Rabbanim got together and they trapped some evil power, not to be understood. So the Gemara understands that that's referring to the tefillas of the Anshe Knesset Hagdolah. They're mispal to be mevatel liyetzer hara v'avodah zarah. The Gemara tells us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is angry at Bnei Yisrael at the end of the 70 years of Golos Bavel, when they all had permission to go back to Eretz Yisrael. So hardly anybody went back. It says in Tanakh, less than 45,000 Jews went back. There were millions of Jews living in Bavel. And those who went back with the Gerim and the Mamzerim and the Chalolim and the people with the Shvacha Yichus. And the Gemara says all the Fruma Jews, all the religious Jews remained behind in Bavel. And the Jews in Bavel wouldn't want to marry the Jews from Eretz Yisrael. The Gemara says that Rabbi was a student of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. And Rabbi came from Bavel to learn in Eretz Yisrael by Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. So Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, that was a star student of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. He wanted him to meet his daughter. He wanted a shidduch for his daughter. So Rabbi wasn't interested. So Rabbi Yehuda Nasi said, my Torah is kosher, my daughter is not kosher? You don't want to marry my daughter? That was the answer. The Gemara says, no, the people from Bavel had a much better yichus. Those who went back to Eretz Yisrael were the Mamzerim and the Chalolim and the Gerim and the Nesinim, the Asara Yuchsan, all of the Bavel. He didn't want to marry Rabbi Yehuda Nasi's daughter. You got another shidduch, okay. But the Rabbi, the star student, didn't want to marry. So the Gemara says, the Gemara quotes the pasuk from Shir Hashem. So the Gemara says they were notified already. Bnei Yisrael were notified on the occasion of the Chet HaMeraglim that they're going to come to Eretz Yisrael. They're going to build the Beis Hamikdash. The Beis Hamikdash is going to be charev, and the Jews will be sent into Golus. So when Shlomo Melech built the first Beis Hamikdash, he knew that it was not going to last forever. And he said, Baruch HaKodesh, what's going to be? But the second Beis HaMikdash, will that last forever or not? So he said, Baruch HaKodesh and Shir Hashem, Im Yalu Kachayma. If everybody will come back at the end of the 7 years of Golos Bavel, Nivna Le'al Tiras Kesev, the second Beis HaMikdash will be like made from metal, and metal doesn't rot, Ein HaRekab Sholed Bo. So the Gemara says, Ein HaRekab Sholed Bo in two meanings. Number one, second Beis HaMikdash will be the everlasting Beis HaMikdash. Number two, Bnei Yisrael will not rot away. There will still be Nevi'im. However, in Delasi, if it'll be Dalas Ha'am, hardly anybody will come back. That's what happened. Not so Lalu Acharis, then the second Beis HaMikdash will be like a wooden bungalow, like a wooden hut, And just like wooden buildings are rekeb sholet bo, so too the second Beis Hamikdash is asid, will be asid lehecharev, and there won't be any more nevuah in Bnei Yisrael. Bnei Yisrael will rot away. HaKadosh Baruch Hu won't send any neviim. So there were no neviim because hardly anybody showed up. There were no more neviim. The Gemara says, Gimel neviim alu imami bavel. Chagas Chaim Malachi came back. The Rebbeinu Shalom wanted them to build a Beis Hamikdash, and the Halakha says, L'shich nesidushu v'asa shama pasuk in Re'ei. L'shich nesidushu drosh al pi navi. It says in the Sifrei, you can't build a Beis Hamikdash. Even if you can figure out based on archaeology where everything is supposed to be, you can't build a Beis Hamikdash without express authorization from a Navi. So the Gemara says the three Nevi'im, Gimel Nevi'im, Alu Imam Babel, Chagas Chaim Malachi, they were needed in order to give instructions. Each one gave a different nevuah about a different aspect of the building and the second Beis Hamikdash. That's the famous Ravid writes on the Rambam. The Gemara has a machlokes hatanoim, whether the Kedushas Hamikdash was Kitchel Asi Lavai, whether the Kedusha retains even today, or maybe it was only Kitchel Shaita, maybe the Kedusha's Beis Hamikdash was only Kozman that the Bais was Bibinyana. So the Ravid is of the opinion, machlokes is how we pass on Halakha. The Ravid writes, when Shlomo HaMelech built the first Beis Hamikdash, he knew that it was Asid Lahecharb, so he only endowed it with Kedusha for the 410 years that it lasted. Yedei Haya Ezra, when Ezra built the second Beis Hamikdash, he knew that was Asid Lahecharb, because they knew they knew from the time of the Chet HaMeraglim, that says Beferish in Yecheskel, in the Tehillim, that in the Chumash it's not so explicit. The Nitziv interprets where it says in the Chumash, but it says it explicitly in Yecheskel, and in Tehillim, that on the occasion of the Chet HaMeraglim, they were told that they were going to be sent in Golus. The punishment was going to be, Chet HaMeraglim was on Tisha B'Av, and the Churban Bayis Rishon was on Tisha B'Av. So they were told that. This was told at the time of the Chet HaMeraglim. So Yedei Haya Shlomo Melech knew the first Bayis was Osel. He was only Makdish it Lizman. Then Yedei Haya Ezra. Ezra knew from the Ruach HaKodesh of Shlomo HaMelech that the second Bayis was Osel because hardly anybody showed up. And that's what Shlomo HaMelech wrote in Shir Hashirim. If everybody comes back, that the second Beis Hamikdash will be of an everlasting nature. And if Dalas Am will show up, hardly anybody shows up, then the second Bayis will be Chorev. So they knew this in advance. And the only three Nevi'im that were sent were Chagas Chaim Malachi, because the Rebbeinu Shalom wanted them to build a Beis Hamikdash, but that Nevi'im, you can't build a Beis Hamikdash. After Malachi, no more Nevi'im till Eliyahu HaNavi. That's how Malachi signs off. Malachi is the end of the Trei Asar. That's the beginning of the Bayis Sheni. So he signs up, Zichur Taurus Moshe Avdi. You better remember, you better observe the dinim in the Chumash. I'm the last Navi. The role of a Navi is to give Tochacha and Musar, to scream at Bnei Yisrael why they're violating Averis. So he says, I'm going to be the last Navi. The next Navi after me is going to be Eliyahu HaNavi, who's going to come right before Mashiach. That's how the Gemara in Erevin understands it. Means Bias HaMashiach. We're still waiting for Eliyahu HaNavi. There haven't been any Nevi'im since then. So the Seder Olam is a history book by the Tana Rabbi Yosef ben Chalafta. The Gemara every so often quotes from the Seder Olam halachas. He has history that's neged to halacha. So in the Seder Olam it says an expression, Mishimesel Chagas Chaim Malachi Botla Nevuah MiYisrael. That was the end of the period of Nevuah till Eliyahu HaNavi will come before Mashiach. Mikam V'Yelech. It says in the Seder Adars, in the Seder Olam, Hat Oznecha Ushma Divrei Chachamim. Now begins the period of the Torah Shebal Peh. Kozman, there was the big Yetzirah of Avodah Zarah. The Gemara has an expression. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Barasi Yetzirah, Barasi La Torah Tablan. The Baruch Shalom created people with a Yetzirah. That's the challenge of living. You have Bechira Chavshis, you have to overcome a Yetzirah. If people wouldn't have Yetzirah, so there would be Malachim. So there's no challenge in not exercising your Bechira Chavshis yet. The Baruch Shalom gave us a challenge all the time. So the Baruch Shalom says, Barasi Yetzirah, Barasi La Torah Tablan. I gave the Torah to be the antidote. That's the medication. That's the drug that you take in order to know how to control the Yetzirah. Barasi La Torah Tablan. So you go to the drugstore, there's only one drug. There's only one medication. It depends what the sickness is that you have. There are a million different medications. So the Gemara seems to have understood whether Yetzirah of a Zarah is prevalent, then the main Limud HaTorah has to be on Torah Shebichsav. And then when the main Yetzirah is Apikursus minus, then the main antidote, the main Torah tablet for that is the Torah Shebaal Peh. So the whole Tkufa is Bais Rishon because it was still a Yetzer Hara of Avodah Zarah. Not still, there was. Unbelievable Yetzer Hara of Avodah Zarah. Everybody's worshipping Avodah Zarah right and left, all over the place. Not to be understood until the time that the Anshe Knesset HaGedolah were Mispalot HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he answered their prayers, and he was mevatel this fantastic Yetzer Hara of Avodah Zarah. So the main emphasis used to be on Limud Torah Shebichsav. And then, Mikan V'yelach, after the Chagas Chaim Malachi, Botlan Nevuah Yisrael, Mikan V'yelach, Hatochos Shmad Direch HaChamim, that was the period of Limud Torah Shebaal Peh. That was when Bnei Yisrael were Mekabel Torah Shebaal Peh. That's what Kimu V'Kibla. That was on the occasion of Nes Purim. They're Mekabel Torah Shebaal Peh B'Ratzon, and because they're Mekabel B'Ratzon, that's why the main development of the Torah Shebaal Peh occurred after the Nes Purim, during the Baisheni period, after the Baisheni, all the Tanoim, all the Amoraim. We have very little from the Bais Rishon period. We have halachas l'Moshe Misina. Tefillin should be black and tefillin should be square. Various halachas Moshe Misina. That was from the days of Moshe Rabbeinu. You have a Mishnah in Shkolim here and there. You have a din that was developed in the Tkufas Bais Rishon. You have a couple of Gzeres there, Rabbanim from the days of David, Shlomo HaMelech, and so on. But the main development of the Torah Shebaal Peh was after Purim, after the Mekabel Torah Shebaal Peh B'Ratzon. If it's forced upon you, so you don't enjoy it so much, or you don't develop it so much. The main development of the Torah Shebaal Peh was after the Nes Purim, after the Mekabel B'Ratzon. That's why the Gemara says in Bava Basra, in the first parak in Bava Basra, the Gemara quotes a pasuk from Navi, Gam ki yitnu bagoyim ato akaptzin. The Gemara understands yitnu miloshen masnisin. Ein nison nigola mele b'schus limud hamishnais. The gulu hasida will take place in the schus of limud Torah Shebaal Peh. We live in the tkufa of Torah Shebaal Peh. After the Anshe Knesset HaGedolah, after Chagas Chaim Malachi, now is the tkufa, the main emphasis of the learning should be on Torah Shebaal Peh. People always wonder in the yeshivas, why did they push so much the learning of Gemara? Because we live in the period of the Torah Shebaal Peh. We live after the Nes Purim. Before the Nes Purim was the tkufa of Torah Shebichsav. The main emphasis was the Torah Tavlin has to correspond to what the Yetzer Hara is. So when the Yetzer Hara is Avodah Zarah, so the main emphasis has to be on Limud Torah Shebichsav. When the main Yetzer Hara is Apikursus and Minus, then the main emphasis has to be on Limud Torah Shebaal Peh. The Mishnah tells us in the last parak in Brachos that Mishikil Kulu Haminim, when the Apikursim started to tumble and they didn't believe in Olam Haba, so the Chachamim made a takana that when you say a bracha in the Beis Hamikdash, every bracha you have to emphasize Baruch Hashem min ha'olam v'yad ha'olam Magen Abraham. When they daven Shema, every bracha is say min ha'olam v'yad ha'olam. Why? To emphasize that we believe in Olam Haba. When was that? When was Mishikil Kalu Haminim? So the Mefarshim on the Mishnayos point out that was day number 1 in the Baisheni. They quote from Sukkim from Tanakh, from the very beginning of the Baisheni. And the Mishnayos describe in Yubeh, Maseches Yuma, that the whole Tkufa's Baisheni was plagued with many years. The Tzedukim, the Apikursim, were running the show in the Beis HaMikdash. They were bringing the Karbonos in an improper fashion. This week we're going to read about the Shkolim. Parshas Kisisa, we just read about Machzah Shekel. So the Pshuto Shal Mikra Machzah Shekel is talking about taking a census of Bnei Yisrael. But the Torah Shebaal Peh has a different kind of a Machzah Shekel, really absolutely nothing to do with the Machzah Shekel written in the Pasuk. Torah Shebaal Peh reads in between the lines. Torah Shebaal Peh has established that in order to fulfill the mitzvah of Karbonos Tzibur, every day you bring Tmidim, and every Shabbos and Yontif and Rosh Chodesh and Chalamon you bring Musafim. So the Tmidim and Musafim are a Korban Tzibur. So it's only considered a Korban Tzibur if it's paid for by the Machzas HaShekel money. If a private person will donate $5 million and hang up a sign in the Beis HaMikdash, all the Karbonos were taken care of this year by this and this family, so the Gemara says you're not Yotzei. The Tzdukim did that. The Tzdukim weren't gervis at such a concept as a Tzibur. Tzibur is a group of people. So just like the Gemara learns out from a pasuk, and the Tzdukim accepted that. We have a din. I can be Magdish a Korban on behalf of someone else. Magdish Amanash is Kappa B'Chavera. The Gemara discusses all the various dinim. Who's called the Bala Korban? For what purposes is the Magdish the Bala Korban? For which purposes is the Miskaper the Bala Korban? I can be Magdish a Korban for you. So the Tzdukim felt the same thing applies to a Korban Tzibur. A private wealthy person could donate a large sum of money and bring all the Karbonos Tzibur on behalf of the Tzibur. And the Halakha says it's not so. Tzibur is a different concept. That halacha, magdish al menashe is kappa b'chaber, only applies to karbanis yachid. Doesn't apply to karbanis tzibur. It's only considered a korban tzibur if it's purchased with the machzis hashekel money. So this is all Torah Shebal Peh. So the tzdukim were tummeling for many years in the Bayis Sheni. They were celebrating Shavuos always on a Sunday. That's where the Christians picked up, the early Christians picked up a lot of shtick from the tzdukim, many other things. That's by the early Christians, they established that Pentecost is always on a Sunday. Pentecost is the holiday of the 50th day. That's Shavuos. So this they picked up from the tzdukim, because it says in the Chumash, you start counting Sfira, Mimachos HaShabbos. Our tradition has it, Mimachos HaShabbos means first day Chalamoid Pesach. By Yasser Chutzlar, it's the second day Pesach, and Eretz the first day Chalamoid Pesach. And the word Shabbos in that pasuk doesn't mean Shabbos, Bereshis, it doesn't mean Saturday. It means Yontif Pesach. And the tzdukim didn't accept that tradition. So they say, you always start counting Sfira on a Sunday, and Shavuos always falls out 7 weeks later on a Sunday. So this is one of the shtick. Another shtick was about you equate the men and the women, the women's issues. That the tzdukim, the Gemara says during the period of the tzdukim, they said the sons and the daughters should they should divide the Yerusha equally. And then the Christians picked that up. Also, the Gemara says the early Christians picked up around 10, 15 things from the tzdukim that they carried over. So the Gemara tells us the whole Bayis Sheni period from the beginning, from day number 1, was full of trouble from the tzdukim. That's how the Rambam describes. The Bayis Sheni period, from the very beginning to the end, was full of Asak, and they were fighting with the tzdukim. So that's why the emphasis had to be on the limud of the Torah Shebal Peh. And that's why in our generation, we're still holding before Eliyahu Navi comes. So that's what the Seder Olam says. After the death of Chagas Chaim Halacha, that's Botla Nevuah Yisrael Mekan V'Yelach. We have to place the emphasis on limud Torah Shebal Peh, because we're fighting. The limud Torah has to serve as the antidote. The Torah Tavlan has to be the antidote for minos and for apikursis. You can't understand Torah Shebal Peh without knowing Torah Shebechsav, though. It's not enough just to know the names of the books of the Tanakh. There are Jews, there are Talmid Chacham, don't even know, they can't even tell you the names of the Treyasa. It's not enough to know the names of the Treyasa. You shouldn't think that these were Christian scholars, Chagai, Zachariah, Amos, Avadia. These are Jewish prophets. These are Nevi'im. We have to know what they said. The whole Jewish religion, the whole philosophy of Judaism, the whole Emunah is based on what the prophets tell us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told us, V'halachta b'drachav. We were all created with Tzelem Elokim, and He instructed us we should preserve that Tzelem Elokim. How do you preserve it? So the pasuk says, "V'halachta b'drachav," preserve your Tzelem. How do you do that? So the Rambam writes, both in the Mor Nevuchim and in the Mishnah Torah, how do we know how Kadosh Baruch Hu acts? What did Darchei Hashem say? He says Moshe Rabbeinu was a Navi. The other Nevi'im, they describe how Kadosh Baruch Hu acts. If not for the Nevi'im, we would know how Kadosh Baruch Hu acts. So we have to study the Sifrei HaNevi'im. You have to study Chumash. You have to study Tanakh in order to know what are Darchei Hashem, in order to know how to fulfill the Halakha b'drachav. And then the pasuk continues, Halakha b'drachav is in Parshas Kisavai. Then it says, V'ro kalami ha'aretz, and all the nations of the world will realize, because the Jewish people are supposed to serve as an Or Lagoyim. What do you mean an Or Lagoyim? The Navi Yeshaya says, we're supposed to serve as Or Lagoyim. A light unto the nations in what area? What we should show them about Kashrus and Shabbos and Taurus HaMishpach and Tzitzis and Tefillin. That's for us, that's not for them. Or Lagoyim means in honesty and integrity, work ethic, to accomplish things. The Jews accomplish things in this world. Unfortunately, we have to show them the way you run a country. You shouldn't have a president sitting in prison. You shouldn't have a former Rosh HaMemshalah sitting in prison. You shouldn't have a former chief rabbi sitting in prison. We're not doing a good job of serving as an Or Lagoyim. We're supposed to show the Or Lagoyim that the members of the Knesset should not be indicted for taking bribes. And they should be honest. The Knesset should be honest. And all the government officials should be honest. And there should be a clean country. And there should be, the garbage should be collected. It shouldn't have filthy streets and so on. That's what we're supposed to be, an Or Lagoyim in that area. So the Torah says, V'ro kalami ha'aretz, what all the nations of the world will see, as the Rabbi Yeshaya says, we're supposed to serve as an Or Lagoyim. So when they will see Kishem Hashem Nikra Alecha, that you have succeeded in preserving your Tzelem Elokim, the whole mitzvah of Halakha b'drachav. What do you mean a mitzvah? Why should we imitate the ways of God? He's considering retiring, and we're going to take over. Mazev Halakha b'drachav. You know, the psychiatrists say if a person thinks he's going to act as if he's somebody else, he's going to have a nervous breakdown. Why should we imitate the ways of God? The answer is not imitating somebody else. We were created b'tzelem Elokim. The Goyim were also created b'tzelem Elokim. We were instructed by Halakha to preserve it at Tzelem Elokim. How do you preserve it? By going in the ways of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How do you know what are the ways of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? You have to know the Nevi'im. The Rambam says you have to study Chumash, you have to study the Nevi'im. So when we will succeed in preserving our Tzelem Elokim, V'ro Kalam Ha'atz, when all the nations of the world will see that we have succeeded, Kishem Hashem Nikra Elech, you have preserved your Tzelem Elokim, V'yaru Mimeko, they will learn from us how to act with Yiras Shamayim. They can preserve their Tzelem Elokim also. That's how it says in the name of the Vilna Gaon, the Pshuto Shal Mikra, V'yaru Mimeko, they will learn from us how to live a life of Yiras Shamayim. We can't understand Torah Shebal Peh unless we know Torah Shebechsav. So every week you have to be Ma B'Sedra, preferably Ma B'Sedra with Pirush Rashi. Rashi introduces you to the whole Torah Shebal Peh. Without Rashi, the Chumash is going to be like a Christian Bible. If you just read the King James translation, just translate the words literally, it's a Goyish Bible without the Torah Shebal Peh. Rashi is fantastic on Chumash. Rashi introduces everybody to the whole Torah Shebal Peh. Then you have to learn also, either in the yeshivas or on your own, you have to learn the Sifrei HaNevi'im. Not sufficient to know what the names of the Sifrei HaNevi'im are. You have to know what it says in the Nevi'im. What did they say? The whole Ashkafa, the whole Amunah is based on what it says in Tanakh. We can philosophize from today till next year, we won't understand anything about Elokus. The only thing we can understand is what the Nevi'im, what HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealed to us. He revealed through the Nevi'im. So we have to study Tanakh, but the main emphasis has to be placed. We live in the generation, we live in the Tkufa of the Torah Shebal Peh. That's what the Gemara says, Eini son Nigolim, b'schus limud ha-mishnayos. The emphasis has to be placed on the Gemara, on the Mishnayos, on the Torah Shebal Peh. We should continue the Hatzlocha. Everybody should learn up a storm. You have to be Ma B'Sedra every week. You have to learn the Sifrei HaNevi'im and the Ksuvim. We have to learn Tanakh. It's our Bible. You know, there was a famous incident. Hakamas Hamedina was in 1948, before you people were born. So a few years after Hakamas Hamedina, there was a Yom HaAtzmaut observance in Cleveland that was co-sponsored by the Mizrahi and the Aguda. And the invitation, he had Mrs. Gifter's name signed. Rabbi Gifter was then in Cleveland and tells the yeshiva, had Mrs. Gifter's name on the bottom. Rabbi Meir Bloch, he was the founder of the Cleveland yeshiva, the tells the yeshiva in Cleveland after the war. So it had the name on the bottom. So I live in Washington Heights. A lot of the Yekis in Washington Heights don't believe in the Medina. So one of the Yekis one of the Balabatim sent a letter to Rabbi Meir Bloch. How can you co-sponsor Yom HaAtzmaut observance? We don't believe in the Medina. So how can you be a shutaf in this? So Rabbi Meir Bloch sent him a letter that was printed. He sent him a letter. What do you mean we don't believe in the Medina? Medina is part of our Torah. And he complains about the three things that the religious Jews ran away from in Europe, and they were picked up by the Apikusim, by the anti-religious Jews. Says one is Zionism. The secular Zionists wanted to establish a Medina to replace the Torah. So the religious Jews ran away from Zionism. So they said we shouldn't run away. We should observe Zionism according to the laws of the Torah. And then the anti-religious Jews were learning Tanakh with new interpretations. So the religious Jews ran away from Limud Tanakh. We shouldn't run away from Limud Tanakh. That's part of the Torah, believe it or not. There's a mitzvah of Talmud Torah, even if you're Ma B'Sedra, even if you learn Tanakh, it's also not just Gemara with Rabbi Chaim Soloveitchik's Torah. If you learn Tanakh, it's also Talmud Torah. So we should learn Tanakh according to the tradition. And then the third thing that the religious Jews ran away from us, speaking Lashon HaKodesh, because Achad Ha'am and Mendel and Moichas Svarim and the whole Chevra, they all were writing papers in Hebrew and having chugim and speaking Hebrew. So the religious Jews ran away from it, and they said Lashon HaKodesh is Yiddish. We don't recognize Hebrew. What do you mean? Of course Hebrew is Lashon HaKodesh. We should take back the Lashon HaKodesh. Says we should take back all of the three mitzvahs. Rabbi Meir Bloch quotes the Rambam and the Pirush HaMishnayos and the Mishnah and Pirkei Avos. Says v'zar b'mitzvah kalaka v'chamura. So what's the mitzvah kalos? The Rambam says ledaber b'lashon HaKodesh. He quotes sources from the Gemara that to speak Lashon HaKodesh is a mitzvah. Rabbi Meir Bloch has this famous letter. We should take back all the three, ledaber b'lashon HaKodesh, and to learn Tanakh, and Zionism. All three are part of our Torah. These are not something outside of the Torah. We should take all three back. We have to do it in accordance with our tradition. So you should place the emphasis on limud Torah Shebal Peh, but you can't understand Torah Shebal Peh. You don't know the expressions. You don't know the The Gemara always using biblical allusion, biblical expression. You have to know where the expressions come from. You have to know what the hashkafa of our religion is. So the background of the Torah Shabbat Peh has to be the Torah Shabbat. So every week you got to be Mabba Sedra, and every year you have to, either in the yeshiva or out of the yeshiva, you have to have time every day, every week to learn Tanakh, and thereby to know what Adarchei Hashem and to go b'halach the How about Tzlochem?